Knowing how to write CSS and knowing how to use it properly on Shopify are two different things. Although CSS code is written the same way across all platforms, on Shopify, there are a few things that work a little bit differently. I'm Hannah, a Shopify educator and designer, and in this video, I'm sharing with you 6 things that you should know about using CSS specifically on Shopify. And trust me when I say that following these tips is going to save you a lot of time and stress when you're working on your next Shopify website. But more importantly, becoming a really good Shopify designer isn't just about knowing how to make something look the way you want it to look. It's about knowing how to build it in the best way. Once you know these things, your code is going to be a lot cleaner, a lot easier to maintain, and it's not going to cause problems for you or your clients later on. Okay, so the first thing to know about using CSS on Shopify is that there are 2 main places to add CSS. The first place is in the theme code. This is where you would add code globally, meaning styles you want to apply to the entire theme. For example, if you were specifying which fonts to use where, if you were styling buttons, or if you were styling the product template or apps, any rules that can be applied site-wide or template-wide should go here to keep styling consistent across the site. And the second place to add CSS is inside of a specific section on the page. So inside of each section settings is this little custom CSS box. You can write styles there and it'll be applied only to that instance of the section. So let's say just this once you want to change the text alignment or the text color, or you want to add a border to these columns, but only this once, not every time you use the section, then this is the place to put that CSS. How it works is that Shopify will insert a dynamic section ID before your selector to make sure that this rule applies only to this one instance. Okay, so this box does have a character limit and some restrictions which can make it really annoying to use. So I always prefer to add my CSS to the themes code file when that is possible. This box is actually where I see most designers going wrong. They're using this box way too much, repeatedly writing the same styles here instead of adding them globally. So if you find yourself repeating the same CSS across multiple sections, there's a good chance that the styles belong in the themes code instead. But also, if you're using this box a lot, it can be really hard to find your code when you need to make a change, because you'll have CSS written in a million different places and you're trying to find where to change the code, but you're not sure where it's coming from. Compared to if all your CSS is in one global file, it's really easy to find without having to click around everywhere. Technically, there is a third spot to add CSS. The theme settings also have a little box for writing theme-wide styles, but this box is really, really small, so I pretty much never use it. This next one is a really important one. If you take away anything from this video, it is do not edit the theme's core CSS files. Please, please, please don't do it. You are literally asking for trouble if you edit these. Your theme comes with at least one global CSS file called theme.css or something similar. And it might also come with a CSS file for each theme section. It depends on the theme. In any case, instead of editing the CSS files that come with the theme, I highly, highly recommend creating your own custom.css file and then adding any global styles there. This is one of those things where both approaches technically work, but one is just a much better way to build a professional website. The main reason you want to follow this as best practice is because if you edit the theme's styles, it makes things messy. You won't be able to tell what is your code from the theme's code, and if there's a bug on the website, it's going to be very tricky to figure out what's causing the bug and if it was your code or a bug that already existed in the theme. When you edit the theme's code files, it also makes theme version updates a lot more difficult, because when you update the theme, those changes that you made to the code may not be carried over to the new theme version. Whereas if you had kept all your custom styles together in their own file, it's much easier to move those styles across and see exactly what you've customized. And at Luna, we are all about building stores that future-proofs them for theme version updates so that store owners can take advantage of new features when they come out. As a best practice, you want to keep your CSS code separate from the themes. I created a tutorial explaining how to set this up, so make sure to watch that here. You want something, my love? Are you so cute? Now this next tip, if you are coming from Squarespace, this is probably a mistake that you're making, and that is to never ever use the section ID as a selector. When you inspect the theme code, every section that's added to the page has an automatically generated section ID. If you're coming from Squarespace, you're probably used to using section IDs or block IDs as your selector when you're writing a style rule. But on Shopify, things work differently. When you duplicate a theme, which you do pretty often, that dynamic section ID changes, meaning that none of your styles would work on the duplicate theme version. So never ever use the section ID as part of your selector. Instead, use that custom CSS box that comes with each section, which will automatically insert the correct dynamic section ID before your selector to make sure that that rule applies only to that section. Now this next one is a great hack, and it can actually save you from writing a lot of unnecessary CSS. You can take advantage of the way a theme is coded and update things like button styles, fonts, and colors with just a few words. And when I learned this one, it literally saved me so much time. This is through something called variables. A variable is basically a name you give to something, like a certain color value, that can be reused in multiple places. So instead of always having to type the hex color code D9E6EF to get this blue color, I can just assign it the name light blue. And that way, the next time I want to use that, I can just write var light blue, and it will replace my variable name with that hex color code. That way I don't need to go hunting around for it every time. Shopify themes love using variables because they're so efficient. So your Shopify theme has over 100 CSS variables already set up, and we can use those to change styles really quickly. So for example, if I want to change the font family for all the buttons on the site, I don't worry about looking around for the right selector to use for all the different button styles and button sizes. That would take some time. Instead, I find the variable name that the theme is using, and then I just reassign the value in like 20 seconds. In our theme's case, I found that the variable name for this is button font stack, and I'll just reassign the font family to be DM Sans. I don't need to look for the class name of the buttons. A pro tip is to also create your own variables like the brand colors. I explain how to do this in more detail in that same CSS tutorial I mentioned earlier. The next thing you need to know is that you can use CSS nesting to keep your code more organized and to avoid repeating yourself. For example, if I'm writing style rules for buttons, instead of writing it like this, where I've had to write button twice, instead I can specify that button class, write rules for it, and then inside that same set of curly brackets, I can continue to add on to this initial selector. Inside here, I can style the hover state of the button without having to use the class name again. This just makes the styles a lot more organized and easier to maintain because you're not repeating the same selector names over and over again. The final thing I want you to know is that usually you shouldn't use important to override code, but apps are one of the few places where I am happy to use it. I've actually had an app styling working perfectly for months, and then one day it just randomly stopped working because something changed on the app side. In that case, adding important to my rule solved the issue, which is why I don't hesitate using it on app styling. So I wouldn't use important automatically for all my styles, but if you're struggling to override an app styling, this is absolutely a situation where I wouldn't hesitate to use it. Okay, those are my 6 tips for using CSS on Shopify. After years of experience, trust me when I say that following these tips is going to save you from ripping your hair out at 10 p.m. trying to solve a random bug. And these might seem like tiny technical details, but this is really what becoming a better Shopify designer looks like. It's not just about learning more code, it's about understanding the best way to use the code that you already know and making decisions that leave your client with a website that's very clean and reliable and easy to maintain. Your client will probably never even know that you did any of these things, but that's kind of the point. A lot of what makes someone a really good Shopify designer happens behind the scenes. All these little decisions that make the website work better and set your client up for success in the future. If you're wondering how to create that custom CSS file I mentioned earlier and how to organize everything so that it's easy to maintain, that is exactly what I cover in this next video. Watch that and I'll show you the setup we use on our own Shopify projects. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Sweetie, you wanna come here? Come here, my love, yeah.